A little bit of time has now passed since my interview with Sir Peter Leitch for Making Sense of Marketing, and it's given me an opportunity to really reflect on the amazing content that he shared with me. And I thought it might be beneficial for you if I was to make this recording where I highlight what were the key takeaways for me. Now, it's not to say that you won't have other things that you got out of the interview, but hopefully this recording will help to really consolidate what you take away and benefit from with your business. Now, the whole idea with Making Sense of Marketing is to help you to become more skilled with your marketing and ultimately see a financial reward for your business. So I've written down, as it turns out, 7 different key takeaways that I got from the interview. So let me go through them and share them with you. So the first thing I got out of it was that Peter knew nothing about marketing, but he evolved into being an expert, particularly with his brand building. So you should really take confidence in that. You know, he had no background in brand building, no background in marketing, but he became hugely successful at doing that. So as Peter would say, if he can do it, so can you. Okay, the second key takeaway for me was that he evolved a structure or a plan to grow his business by developing his brand. He did that by mixing planned events with seizing the opportunity. So the planned events would be like his new store openings or his radio or television advertising. Seizing the opportunity would be things like the initiative that he undertook with the Around the Bays race, giving out free t-shirts, and also when he had the opportunity to get on radio and leverage the situation so he got more coverage for his business. There's just a couple of examples. Number 3, Peter saw the key to his success was his pricing. However, it was only because of his marketing that people became aware of his cheap pricing. So as much as his cheap pricing he may feel was ultimately, a really important part of his success, it was the fact that he was so effective at building his brand and consistently marketing to the public that they became aware of his cheap pricing. You can have the cheapest offer in the world, but if you don't go out there and tell everyone, no one will know. And if people don't know, they're not going to buy. So his marketing was really important, ultimately, in his success. Okay, so the next thing, which was really interesting, is he combined his passion for sport and helping people with his business. Now, he became quite passionate about helping the sport of rugby league, along with a number of charities that he had an affinity with. Now, the interesting thing about that was that he developed a high profile within those community groups as he, put a lot of effort into helping them. And he developed, I think, quite a loyal following. And the fact that he was offering cheap pricing really resonated with those community groups, and in my opinion underpinned the success to his business. But I'm quite sure from interviewing him that he never set out with that intent. He didn't have this as a strategy to build his business. Peter was just being Peter. He was being himself. He was passionate about helping people in the community. He was passionate in particular about rugby league and other charity groups, and he was just doing that. And through his good deeds, unintentionally, it had, in my opinion, a very strong positive benefit to his business. Okay, number 5 key takeaway was he was innovative with his marketing. So again, talking about the Around the Bays, he identified that a number of people were running the race that maybe felt lonely, that weren't part of a group. So he invited people to become part of his group, get a free t-shirt, have the barbecue, and they keep the t-shirt. And of course that looked great on television with him having the biggest group of people participating in the race, and the people would take those t-shirts home and in a lot of cases wear them. So it was further advertising for him. So that's a great example of him being innovative. His store openings too, he looked to bring on board well-known celebrities for the openings. He would dress up. He'd just try and think outside the square, and he certainly didn't do the mundane. So, he really did capture people's attention by being different with what he did. Okay, number 6, he lived and breathed his brand. He was very much the mad butcher, and he played up to the name. So where you saw him on television or on radio, You listen to his voice, he had a lot of passion in it, and he really did kind of sound a little bit crazy. So he really just did play up to that whole name. And of course, that name's so memorable, the Mad Butcher. So he created a very strong presence for his brand by living and breathing it. And it's a great example of what can be achieved if you put your effort into building your brand. Okay, number 7, my final one, is that marketing should be considered an investment, not an expense. It may be an expense in accounting terms, but in business terms, it's an investment in your future. Peter specifically said that it's an investment in your future. The value of the brand that he created was much greater than what it cost him to create it. And to kind of really illustrate that example, the brand became so well known that people didn't need to see an ad for the Mad Butcher to think the Mad Butcher. So it became imprinted in people's subconscious. So when people are thinking, I need to get some fresh meat, without seeing an ad, they'll think, I'll go to the Mad Butcher. So that's the power of building a strong brand. So that's why you can ultimately get more value out of an effectively created brand than what's actually cost you to create it. But like any investment, you need to invest wisely. Not all investments pay you a return. Some investments lose money, and with marketing, it's no different. The key thing that Peter would say is don't be scared to have a go with your marketing, and don't expect that it will always work. The key is to learn from your mistakes. So if you learn from your mistakes and you refine, then over time your investments will become smarter, and you'll be more likely to get a return, and for that return to get bigger. So there you go. That was my 7 takeaways from the interview. I think the final thing I want to say is that Peter was very much a genuine person. I wasn't disappointed. In fact, I was left thinking even more of him than what I did beforehand. So for me, it was an enjoyable experience. I hope you enjoyed it too. I hope you get benefit out of these key takeaways. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.